Welcome to part 1 of Competency 17 quiz. In this video, we will discuss teaching and learning mathematics. Number 1, Mrs. Eden gave her students 4 situations where they had to determine whether it could be answered using estimation. Select all the situations that apply. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's look at number 1. That would be Roman numeral number 1. The principal has asked you to figure out how many students could attend an outdoor concert so she can decide if the whole middle school can attend or if it should be restricted to only eighth graders. Well, yeah, versus the whole school, you could round up to the nearest whole number of students in the whole school and then round up the nearest number of eighth graders and then look at your seats. So, yes, because it's such a big gap between the eighth grade and the whole school, I would say yes, that number 1 could be used. So I'm going to put a check mark by that one. I would say that one would apply. Let's look at number 2. Determine the height of a beam to a building to support a bridge. That is a very important situation. I wouldn't estimate ever in construction. The rule of construction is measure twice before cutting. That's a basic one they teach students. So, no, that's too valuable a measurement to estimate. All right, let's look at number 3. You plan to buy 4 movie tickets so you and 3 of your friends can go to a new movie that is showing. The tickets are $9.75 each and you have $40. Will you have enough money? Well, yeah, sure, you're going to estimate uh or to $10, or you could say 980. So definitely some kind of estimation would be done with a 975, and then you would multiply that times 4. So 10 times 4 is 40. So with tax, because you want to round up to include tax, so yes, you probably would have enough money for the tickets. Not for the drinks. The food's expensive, right? Not for the drinks and the popcorn. Okay, let's look at the fourth one. You are using your calculator to compute 950 times 12, and it displays 1,150. You decide that you must have entered something incorrect. Oh, yeah, absolutely. The best way to deal with that is like use a zero situation. So 950 times 10. Well, you can already see. Yeah, I don't know if any of you've ever seen this before. That's the lazy zero estimation. Okay, so that would be 0.059. Oh, yeah, there is definitely something wrong with that. So, yes, I would use estimation for that one as well as the third one. So that gives us 1, 3, and 4, and that is option C. And we could have eliminated D right off. And then, as you can see, anything with 2, that's too important. So you'd eliminate A. And then it would be between B and C. But of course, we need that last one because as you see, I just do that in my head all the time. I always laugh at the students. I said, "Have you seen the lazy zero?" And they look at me with like I have 5 heads. I'm like, guys, this is a great way to do things in your head. So you know if you're doing it wrong or right. Okay, let's look at the next one. Number 2. Okay. Use the example below to answer the question that follows. Okay, so here is a fraction of 2 polynomials, and it says a teacher is preparing a unit on polynomial long division, that makes sense, and would like to use the problem shown above as an example. Before discussing the examples of the following, which concept is best for the teacher to review? Well, because we're doing long division, I would work with some kind of a numerical example that that's like several digits. One digit's not going to help you out. Maybe two digits. But let's see what they have for our ABCD. A multiplying two. No, I wouldn't. Two rational expressions. We're not multiplying. That's not going to help us. Okay. Vertical asymptote. Well, that's how we're going to get an asymptote by dealing with the division. It is part of the concept of dividing polynomials, but it's not going to help us with young students. So that doesn't make sense. Let's look at C. The additive property of equality. No, that's not even in the scope of our question. Let's look at D. The division algorithm for real numbers. Yeah, sure. I would, go through, guys, I know we use our calculator a lot, but we need to do this by hand. Let me show you what to do and discuss that. Absolutely. So I would say D is the option we need. Okay, let's move on. Number three, a teacher is preparing a unit about simplifying algebraic expressions and would like to use the expression shown above as an example. Before discussing the example, which of the following concepts is best for the teacher to review? Well, obviously, that is going to be the laws of exponents, and in particular, rational exponents or rational exponentials. Okay, so I really like this particular example also, and I'll show you why in just a second. Let's go through the options. A, zero product property. Doesn't even apply to the topic. Extraneous solutions, well, now you might get thrown by that and think they're trying to trick you with that, but you should know what that's about. That is in relation to square roots of polynomials, okay? So that would not be it either. We had that come up in a prior video, okay? Obviously, see the laws of exponents is really good because you're going to break this down into sections. Okay, then D, the properties of multiplication of real numbers. Well, no, that's not what we're dealing with. It's not our topic. So now, why do I like this particular one? I like it because of this. And you need to be careful with the students. Okay, of course, you're going to you're going to tell them to do sections. First, they do this, that would be two. And then they would say 3 minus 2. So that would just be a positive 1, x to the first. So that would just be x. But I like where I highlighted for the y. The y, you need to make sure the students see this. Even for yourself, if you're not used to doing these, always type it in or write it down. That's -2 minus, in parentheses, the -3, and then push enter to show the student. Again, you just end up with y. So then with z, make sure that they are also seeing the difference between what you're going to do with the y with its exponent and the z. Of course, the exponent would be 4 minus the 6, which is a negative, which moves it to the z to the denominator. So you kind of would have to show the student. And of course, there's more than one way to write that. You could just write that as z to the -2 power. Okay. So anyway, that's why I like that particular example. Okay. And also be aware that they could ask you this question a little differently and ask you which student has selected an incorrect answer and why. They could say the student answered like this, why? So that's another reason why this is a super good question for students and for future educators. I just like everything about it. Okay, let's see. Number 4. A middle school teacher is interested in assigning a project on line graphs that relate to real life situations. Which of the following topics would most likely appeal to his students? Okay, well, we're talking about middle school kids. So, taking that in mind, let's go through these. A, the number of post offices in the United States. Oh, no. You might capture a couple of them with that one, but not enough. B, the amount of nuclear waste from a reactor. Again, you're going to capture only a handful of your guys. C, the number of skin cancer cases. Yeah, I'd have to say the same thing. You're not going to get all the interest of your kids. D, the number of musicians that have been inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame over the last 30. I absolutely probably would be the best one. Although it's some days I think it's hard to capture their interest on any topic other than their cell phones. Okay, this is our last question for this video. I want to thank everyone for watching and wish you all happy testing.